Board to order. Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very much. Katie, have you have everybody here this evening? Also noting department heads who are present. We'll look to approve the minutes from the January 20th, 2025 village board meeting, filing the November 20th, 2024 Parks and Rec Board, November 25th, 2024 Joint Library Board, the November 26th, 2024 Planning Commission, December 2nd, 2024 Finance and Personnel Committee minutes as presented. Please get a motion in a second.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any changes? Lisa?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, that I'll be voting no on the minutes tonight, just for the, fact that we did talk last week and there was information about having a consensus on items. And that really was not a consensus, so just so you know, that's why I'm voting no.
Thank you. We motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
That motion carries. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to be heard on an agenda or a non-agenda item? If you'd please come up to the dais, state your name and your address, please.
I'm Andre Daria, 1731 10th Ave, the president and owner of Grove Incorporated. I just want to thank everyone for letting me talk regarding the roadwork construction of 10th Ave in front of Grove Inc. The plan is to standardize the road width to 32 feet and remove the road exception former Grove Street that is currently in front of Grove Inc. This will remove several parking spaces on the street and limit the use of the street significantly for the area. Grove Inc. has operated out of the 10th Ave offices for the last 70 years. The neighborhood and Grove Inc. have grown together with increased traffic from Grove Inc., Kennedy Elementary, and the neighboring homes. Keeping the road exception with diagonal parking will allow better use of the roadway for all. Grove Inc. will be able to have enough space to park customers, vendors, and employees. The school will have room for events and daily pickups, and the neighborhood will have room for contractors and other visitors, friends, and families. I would like the village to consider retaining the street exception to allow Grove Inc., Kennedy, and the elementary school and the neighborhood to grow in Grafton.
Thank you, Andre. We're going to be, I'd like to request to the administrator to move that over to Public Works for an agenda item, please.
I'll talk with Director Thomas and have that placed on the agenda for Board of Public Works.
Thank you. All right, no business that's being presented outside of the agenda at this point in time. We'll do resolution, ordinance, action items. Acknowledge the fire department's employee handbook is adopted by the Ozaki Central Fire Department.
Yes, thank you. While the Village of Grafton does assist the OCFD with payroll and human resources functions, the Ozaki Central Fire Department is an independent entity that has its own policy-making authority. The OCFD board has adopted its own fire department specific employee handbook, which will act as a supplement to the village's employee handbook for this year, 2025. I did attach the adopted fire department handbook to the staff report this evening. That said, in January, the village began its prep work for our required annual audit. Our contracted auditing firm did recommend that the village board take formal action to acknowledge that the OCFD has adopted their own employee handbook because the village is providing the OCFD's payroll functions and also providing human resources support to the fire department. That said, this is not before the village board for review of the document or its merits. It is simply for the village board to acknowledge that the fire department has in fact adopted its own employee handbook. Therefore, it would be acknowledged formally and thus recognized by our auditors as part of our annual audit preparation.
Very good. Thank you, Chelsea. I'll look for a motion in a second to formally acknowledge the fire department's employee handbook as adopted by the Ozaki Central Fire Department Board.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Any discussion?
Sure, I'd like to ask if, there was consensus at the committee, when you discussed this, and I'm assuming you discussed this at your fire department committee? Chief?
Well, if we're gonna be talking to Chief, I'm gonna have Chief come up to the dais, please.
Yeah, so the supplement recognizes the differences in firefighters. Things that were a little harder to do when we were a village department. We have lateral transfers now. We have 56-hour work week employees, 40-hour work week employees. So we have a lot of differences to make us similar and therefore competitive as we've hired. And that supplement stands outside of the regular village handbook. So the village handbook does address many things that pertain to us. But then all those other things that are a little different for the firefighters are spelled out in that. And I think to answer your question, that has gone in front of the fire board and continues to go and probably will be periodically as we try to, probably just about the time we get it all straightened out, it'll be the end of the year. But it has been tweaked a little bit to comply with the requirements of the village.
And as it needs to be, it'll be revised and it will be done at the board first and then come back to this board for any
Yeah,
authorization.
some of it has just been clarification, who can allot, like who can approve a certain, change in a benefit, maybe where in the current, document, it says the village administrator does, but it's so, pertaining strictly to the fire department. Now it might say fire chief does. So that was a lot of the changes, probably the biggest changes were in that area, where it's a little word like that Ashley and HR went after, got us straightened out. I think vast majority of those things are cleared up.
If I may, Chief, pardon the interruption, but to directly answer trustee Harbeck's question, the supplemental handbook the OCFD handbook would not come back to the village board. That is strictly under the jurisdiction of the OCFD board. That is not. Basically, all the auditors have asked us to do is that the village board recognizes the fact that the fire department board of directors adopted an employee handbook that's specific to the fire department. It's not about any of the content in it or the merits thereof.
So we're just recognizing it's there. We're
Yep.
not saying, yes, we like it or don't.
Exactly. Yes, correct.
Okay,
And to clarify a point here, that was a vote, not a consensus.
Correct. Fire board adopted it by vote. Yep.
Thank you. Okay, any further question for Chief?
good night.
Thank you, Chief.
Question. Can somebody please explain to me how the 56-hour work week works?
Go ahead, Chief.
Chief,
Yes, so most people in the room work a typical 40-hour work week in the American Fire Service. Firefighters are allowed to work a 56-hour work week. And that can be done without having to pay overtime. So a typical firefighter will work up to 56 hours in the week before they're eligible for overtime. So that's due to the 24-hour shifts and all the extra hours they work. We have there's a Fair Labor Standards Act, which applies directly to firefighters. Anything over that, I calculate everybody's hours. Actually, it's in a 28-day period. And at 28 days, at the end of 28 days, if they go over 212 hours, then they're entitled to time and a half for that extra. So the American firefighters are handled a little differently than most of our American employees.
Spot on.
There are some that work, I think Madison works a 48-hour and some work, I think when I was in Tulsa, it was like a 54-hour work week. And that all comes down to negotiated things where you have.
thank you, Chief. Any other questions for Chief?
One more question. Under fire board, where it talks about appointed officials, non-department members, do we have a secretary now for on the board?
We do. Ms. Degnitz, who is the business manager for the fire department, has been designated as a secretary.
Okay, and so is she a non-department member?
The intergovernmental agreement was updated some time ago, that does allow for Ms. Degnes to serve in that position.
Lisa,
Was the vote by the fire board unanimous for this document?
It was developed, I believe it came in pieces, but it has always been unanimous. I'm not aware of any, negative votes.
Okay, thank you.
all right, we have a motion and a second. Thank you, Chief. To approve this, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Thank you for that discussion. Let's go to approve the development agreement with Dr. Bizarre Dental Office and Commercial Development. Jesse,
I would defer to Assistant Administrator Wolf as she has taken lead on this project.
thank you, Jessica.
So as is the village policy, we do require larger new developments in Grafton, especially those outside our municipal boundary, to agree to a development agreement. So this is our standard agreement. You'll see that the format is very similar to all our other agreements. I will point out just two sections on page 3 that are a little unique. One is related to the improvements on Port Washington Road. So the Grisar development, which again is the office, dental office for Dr. Grisar, and then also a separate commercial building, which would be built in the future, is again just on the south side of the village, and it is right at the spot where the divided Port Washington Road ends. So that taper needs to be extended further south, so we will have a shared turn lane in that space. Obviously, this is something that is 100% responsibility of the developer, and so the development agreement notes that in section E. Section F on page 3 also just notes that the developer agrees to participate in the cost of the new traffic signal at Port Washington and Falls Road. The board, I'm sure, noticed there is a minor typo in section 3, just after the words Exhibit D, traffic impact analysis, the next line. There was just some extra verbiage there that needs to be deleted. And I also noticed that the exhibits need to be renumbered. So I would ask the board to approve the development agreement with those 2 corrections. I'd be happy to take any questions, and the developer's representative is here also.
I'll look for a motion to approve this to bring it to the board for discussion. Motion and second, please.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jim. And Mary Pat. Jim, any questions at all on this?
No.
Mary Pat? Any other discussions here? Lisa?
And I'm assuming the developer has seen it and agrees, anyway, it's here.
Other discussion here? Motion and second, with the corrections noted here. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Report of the Finance and Personnel Committee about revisions of Grafton Employee Handbook is presented.
Yes, coming as recommended by our Finance and Personnel Committee is a series of updates to our employee handbook. We have kicked off a new system, if you will, instead of a comprehensive look at the employee handbook after several years. We are looking as staff to bring this year over year with minor updates as case laws can change, legislation, whether it be state or federal, can change, best practices, or just simply changes to our organization that would need to be reflected. That being said, a handful of changes are coming forward for consideration by the village board, again, as recommended by the Finance Personnel Committee. As of January 1st, 2025, the fire department has begun functioning as the Ozaki Central Fire Department. And as noted with a previous action, they have their own specific employee handbook. Now, general rules within the village's handbook apply, but very specific fire department rules are covered by their supplemental handbook. That said, looking to remove specific citations to the fire department because these items that are set forth in the staff report are actually now under the jurisdiction of the OCFD board and not the Village of Grafton. For instance, removal of the referral incentive for fire department employees. The OCFD is a separate entity and would look to offer that incentive if they so choose. The lateral transfer language is covered by the OCFD handbook. Relocation expense reimbursement for the fire chief. Well, it is a unique circumstance here in 25. Moving forward, it would be solely at the discretion of the OCFD board with regards to whether or not they wish to offer that benefit. Remove the village imposed residency requirement for the fire chief and assistant fire chief, as the OCFD is a separate entity and that is a policy decision for them to make. We would also look to remove the incentive program to participate in the fire department, as the fire department is now a separate entity. This revision would mean that any village employee who is an OCFD member that responds to a fire call during their normal workday would revert to the OCFD rate of pay while participating on that call. They would not receive any further incentive from the village of Grafton. And this is brought forward specifically because we actually have several employees who serve on other area fire departments that are separate and distinct entities. We have for sure one public works employee who works with the Cedarburg Fire Department, and one of our engineering employees works with the Port Washington Fire Department, and we do not incentivize them to leave work during their normal workday to respond to a call on behalf of either of those departments. And now that the OCFD is a separate and distinct entity, these folks should be treated the same way, where we would not incentivize them to leave the workday. That said, to leave the workday, conditions have to be appropriate. You would not leave an unsafe condition, whether it be in traffic or at the work or at the job site. But that said, we are not completely closing off the notion of participating. It's just that it would not be incentivized because, again, the OCFD is a separate and distinct entity. A couple of other non-fire department related updates are brought forward in this cast of revisions, looking to update the clothing allowances for the DPW and utility employees to keep pace with the market costs and inflationary pressures that we've seen over the last handful of years. And then we would establish text to match the current incentive program for utility certifications. Right now, the practice that we have here in Grafton is to incentivize and allow for and incentivize growth amongst our utility operators, in that there is a pay bump with a new certification above and beyond their base that they need. That said, looking to establish wording in our employee handbook to match our practice, our physical practice, but also add language where it'd be a reduction clause, meaning I'm an operator. I receive 5 additional certifications, therefore I receive additional bumps. I let those lapse, I would revert back, because would not want to incentivize somebody that doesn't maintain that certification. So there's a reduction clause that is built into that language as well. Specifically to speak to the updates, we're looking at with regards to the clothing allowance. Now I just lost my page. Please excuse me. For utility employees who are required to wear a uniform, there are some utility employees that we have their work clothes professionally laundered. Those are the folks that work in the plant, in and around the dangerous chemicals and the treatment areas. Other employees are required to wear a uniform, specific work clothes. We would look to increase that from $150 to $200 per year. For utility employees not required to wear a uniform. Okay, hold on. Moving too fast for myself. Please excuse me. For utility employees who are required to wear a uniform, Village will supply uniforms and have them laundered. Replacement jackets and safety shoes will also be reimbursed at $200 per year. This is just simply an inflationary measure to address the cost of products and goods over time. For utility employees not required to wear a uniform, these would be the folks out in the field, standard work clothes, high visibility, yes, and standard safety gear, yes, as well as DPW crew positions. We would move from $300 to $400 for an annual allotment, and then prorated based upon full-time equivalency. But then for each full-time permanent employee, safety glasses allowance changing from $200 to $250. Again, for inflationary reasons, we are looking to make that adjustment. That said, I do not anticipate having to revisit these rates for another couple of years, which is why the numbers are being proposed as they are.
Ready to look for a motion and a second to recommend to the village board adoption of revisions to the Village of Grafton Employee Handbook as presented. We can bring that up for discussion.
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
Good. You, Dave. Dave and Andy, any questions at all, Dick?
No.
Andy?
No question.
Okay, it's good enough for the rest of the board. Any other questions? Jim?
So Jesse, how many employees do we have that are associated with the Ozaki and you're saying port, and how many do we have?
Active members on the Ozaki Central Fire Department, we have. I believe we're down to 2. We had 3 and 1 left to take a position elsewhere. We have 2 that are active with the OCFD. We have 1 active with Cedarburg and 1 active with Port Washington. And I believe there may be 1 more who works in Random Lake, but I was not able to confirm that.
So what happens when they leave now? We pay them whatever they're making?
We have only incentivized public works and crew persons or village employee participation on the Grafton Fire Department. If circumstances allowed, where let's say the individual who works with the Cedarburg Fire Department were to leave Grafton's day shift or the Village of Grafton Public Works and head over to Cedarburg to assist with an emergency call, they would completely revert to the Cedarburg Fire Department pay rate. They would not receive any, or have not ever received any incentive from the Village of Grafton. And so we would just simply look to make that a consistent practice across the board, because again, the Ozaki Central Fire Department is now a separate and distinct entity, just like Cedarburg, just like Port Washington.
And do they have to get approval from their department head
Yes.
before they leave?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And that was similar with folks that would serve on the Grafton Fire Department. They had to receive that approval to make sure that supervisors knew they were leaving the job site. That way we can make sure that the job site was safe. If there was an open excavation, we wanted to make sure that was safe and not open to the public or causing a public danger to respond to a fire call.
But employees can leave if they so desire, but they may take a pay cut to do so.
Yes, or they could simply use PTO to maintain their village rate of pay for the remainder of the day. But again, it all depends on what the circumstances are. If they're on a job site that is unsafe to leave, they cannot leave. Regardless of where they worked, whether they were working in our public works and responding on behalf of the Grafton Fire Department or Port Washington or Cedarburg Fire Department, regardless if it was an unsafe condition or an unfinished job, they could not leave. Now, if they are able to, let's say, during the very recent cold spell, folks were simply just cleaning the shop. They could have responded because there's no workplace safety cause or public safety concern caused by their responding to a fire call. That said, it's just simply making sure that the supervisor is aware if they're leaving the Grafton job site to respond to a fire call, regardless of agency.
Thank you, Lisa.
Sure. So I think it's different with some of our other employees who do participate in other departments for Washington and Cedarburg. I mean, obviously, as time has gone on, they have not, in the last how many years that they've been active here, Jesse, they have not left the village to go to their community to participate. But in today's world where we just had to consolidate with another community because we can't get enough firefighters or EMTs or paramedics or anybody.
Mhm.
I mean, this is proof that we need help. I feel it's more important now more than ever. And as I understand the 2 people who volunteer, I believe they volunteer for fire calls. I would be interested to know from Amber, I should have thought about it sooner, to try to find out how many times does that happen per month? Probably not a lot. And I feel that they, the 2 employees that I know of have volunteered for years. And I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think it's a good look for Grafton. There's only 2 people. And they are trying to contribute to their community. They live here, they work here, they volunteer for maybe 1 call a month on the fire department. It's too bad. I don't agree, and I don't think that, there was ever a question that somebody would leave their job here and go to Port Washington. So, I'm disappointed by this, and, do you know if the employees already have been informed that they have an option though? That they have an option that they can either go to the fire call or, and take a pay cut?
This has not been presented to the employees because this is not adopted yet. And during orientation for any new employee, they are made aware of this program that is on the books. So all employees are informed of this, and we have 2.
Right,
That being said, this is brought forward out of the essence of equity among all employees, where as it's written right now, we would be incentivizing Grafton employees to serve at a separate and distinct entity, but not others. And that is the reason why this is brought forward.
right. Well, again, it's interesting that it's just now changed since the fire department became OCFD, so thank you, but I don't think.
Jesse, do you have a rough idea of how many utility employees we are supplying uniforms for right now?
I do not have the breakdown off the top of my head as far as who received the laundering service versus who basically uses the uniform allowance for I guess standard workwear. I'm sorry, I don't have that with me, no.
But this increase will be still within the budget.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, it
Okay.
would. Yep.
And then will the village trustees receive a revised employee handbook once it's all finalized and so on?
Yes, whatever is adopted here, absolutely would get cleaned up and then a new handbook will be distributed. Yep.
Any further discussion? All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed?
Nick,
Okay, let's go to report of Parks and Recreation Board awards of Robert P. Don Pavilion Roof Replacement Project to Vidmar Roofing for a cost not to exceed $37,240.
Director Hoyer is here to fill in any blanks, but just at a high level, just budgeted a roof replacement project for the Zaun Pavilion at Limekiln Park. Director Hoyer was pretty aggressive in looking to get quotes, and I believe we brought forward a very good one at a cost not to exceed $37,240.
Okay, need a motion and a second to bring it to the table for discussion, please.
I make a motion.
I'll have Lisa and then Jim. Very good. Thank you very much. Lisa, any discussion on this?
No, that's
Sure.
good.
none.
Okay, any other? Andy?
Yeah, I guess I just have a question for Director Hoyer. As far as because roofing products vary so much, was our specification specific to like saying this underlayment, this year, 25-year shingle, or what did we do there?
Chad, come up to the yes, please. The reason I'm doing this is because I've heard from some folks that they can't hear when folks are talking in the back. So we'll just invite folks up to talk at the dais.
When I met with each individual contractor, we specifically spoke about using the same type of shingle that was currently on the roof, one to last 30 or 25 to 30 years. So we'll be replacing the current roof with about a 30-year shingle.
Okay, but all the bids were basically spec'd the same with that 30-year shingle as well.
Yes, they actually gave me more than one option, but we're working with a similar spec what was on the roof currently.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? The motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Chad. I appreciate that. That motion passes. Planning Commission, annexation by Dr. David Grisar for annexation petition of 985 Port Washington Road. Jessica.
I would defer to Director Wolf as she handles all things Plan Commission.
Thank you, Jessica.
Yeah, so there are 3 items tonight for, besides the development agreement for the Dr. Grisar, the annexation of the property, obviously, and then to rezone it to the regional mixed use to accommodate the dental office and the commercial building. And then also so those are both from the July 23rd, 2024 Plan Commission meeting. And then just recently, the Dr. Grisar decided that he would like to divide the 2 lots. So have one larger lot for the dental office building, and then a smaller lot for the commercial building. So that went to Plan Commission in January, and that would be the 3rd item for recommendation. Again, the applicant's representative is here, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Very good. I'll look for a motion to bring to the table for discussion, a motion to approve annexation request by Dr. David Grisar for annexation petition of 985 Port Washington Road, parcel 06-019-16-002- .00 located in the town of Grafton, including public right of way with conditions.
Motion to approve the annexation.
I'll second.
Very good. Discussion on this? Seeing none, hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. I'll go to motion to approve rezoning 985 Port Washington Road, parcel 06-019-16 002.00 from rural holding 35, rural holding 35 to RMU regional mixed use for an office and commercial development. Motion and second, please.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this? All right, hearing none, seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All right, going to go to the next one here, which is the certified survey, correct? Okay, so this is regarding the same piece of property, a motion to approve 2-lot certified survey map for 985 Port Washington Road, parcel 06-019-16-002.00 with public right of way dedication be approved. I'll need a motion and a second.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, David and Mary Pat. Again, any questions? Andy?
Yes, I guess this was for Director Wolf, probably. The reasoning behind moving from a single lot to 2 lots, is that to help with the compliance in the development agreement about the 2 phases, or that is in the convenience of the owner?
Convenience of the owner.
Okay.
Well, mostly I understand for lending purposes.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you for that question, Andy. All in favor, say aye. And that motion is approved. We'll go to approve of the purchase of 1.45 acres of parkland in Stonewall subdivision, parcel 10-259-00-000.11 for a cost not to exceed $365,000. Jesse or Jessica?
I'll flip you for it.
Perfect.
Okay. I guess just by way of quick introduction, as far as purchasing 1.45 acres of parkland, utilizing park impact fee dollars, there is an appraisal process that is followed. That appraisal is shared with the developer and has to be mutually agreed upon, i.e. negotiated. With that, we have come to a price. That price, as you note, does carry a significant cost. However, that value is driven due to the fact that this land, this 1.45 acres that we are purchasing as parkland, could have been part of the platted subdivision and platted out as additional single-family residential lots, which would in turn drive value with regards to the overall development of the land. That is the context behind the sale price. But as mentioned, it is park impact fees that are collected through new developments that would be funding this purchase of 1.45 acres.
Just a
note also that the village does plan to combine this 1.45 acres with additional parkland that is immediately adjacent to it in Hawks Ridge. Obviously, the village board will need to take action separately on that, but that is the intention, again, to have a really nice size neighborhood park on the west side of the village.
Very good. Thank you very much. I'll look for a motion in a second on the approval of this purchase of property.
A motion to approve. I'll second.
Very good. Mary Pat, any comment on this? Any others? Lisa?
Jesse, how are we paying for this? Is this coming out as a?
Park impact fees.
Any further questions? All in favor say aye. That motion carries. Jesse, let's go to your administrative report.
Absolutely. In-person absentee voting for the Cedarburg School Board and State Superintendent of Schools primary starts tomorrow, February 4th, and runs through the 14th. This early election will impact wards 7 through 10 here in the village, which approximately is about 1,000 voters. So only a portion of the village will be participating in this particular primary.
Oh, no, it's not accurate. The Cedarburg School, okay.
We can't hear you, please.
The the Cedarburg School District will be 7 through 10. The entire state is impacted with
Okay.
the state superintendent.
Thank
So
you.
Everyone will have a vote on this ballot.
Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kitty. I appreciate that. Misheard you this morning at the management team meeting. Thank you. That said, we do not anticipate a large volume of traffic, so therefore we will be handling this at the front counter here in Village Hall with regards to the in-person absentee voting. The Grafton Police Department took delivery of this year's fleet vehicles. Three Chevy Tahoes will begin their outfitting of equipment and lights. Significant savings was actually realized this year as the police department, while budgeting, expected not to be able to reuse various pieces of equipment within the older vehicles. We are actually able to, therefore, we are looking to save quite a bit on the budget allocation. So looking to get those outfitted and moving forward on behalf of the police department. The village's Department of Public Works has been focusing on forestry operations, and I shouldn't say this out loud because I may jinx it. During these mild winter conditions, the department has actually rented a second boom truck to enable multiple forestry crews to be active throughout the village. Just an ongoing effort there. Last but not least, I'd like to congratulate Assistant Administrator Wolf on becoming the third staff member here in Grafton to be published in the League of Wisconsin Municipalities Municipality Magazine. Joining Director Thomas and myself, current staff members that have been published in this statewide magazine, recognizing good things that are going on here in Grafton. So just wanted to give that quick kudos. And that is the end of my report.
Very good. Thank you, Jesse. We appreciate that. There's really not a back and forth on this section. Good. Okay. Let's go to licenses, approval of operator licenses. Look for a motion and a second to approve operator licenses as presented.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you, Amy. Andy, any questions? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carries. Thank you very much. Approval of issuance of Class B beer alcohol license to Hannah Dillon, agent of Yo Mama's Pizza and Pub LLC, doing business as Yo Mama's Pizza and Pub at 1185 Fort Washington Road, Suite B, Grafton, Wisconsin, for the period ending June 30th. Jesse.
Chief Caponera, on behalf of the Grafton Police Department, is recommending approval of the license application after it has been vetted. Looking to utilize this Class B alcohol license as part of their pizza and pub operation.
Very good. I'll look for a motion to the issuance of this license as previously described.
I'll make the motion. I'll second it.
Thank you very much, Jim and Dave. Any questions at all on this? Hearing none. I'm sorry, Andy, I missed you there.
Sorry. I guess my question is for the clerk. The Class B license, does that allow carryouts of beer or is that only in premises?
It's both. Class B license is B, you equate it to bars or sit down restaurant.
Okay, so they can also sell.
But they could also sell unopened containers to go up to a certain amount.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So quick question here, Jessica, too. Was this not like Pub 60 at one time? Or is this the same as Pub 60 that came?
Yes, it is the same as the restaurant that went to Plan Commission in November, for a small area inside the, Sicko.
So it's just a name change then? we think?
Apparently,
The Dairy Queen.
Good.
yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's kind of in the middle between Dairy Queen and.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, very good. Thank you very much. Okay, we have a motion and second. Any other questions on this? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. We did see some back and forth on the approval of the village expenditures. I'll be looking for a motion to approve the village expenditures. Up for discussion.
Motion approved.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Dave. Any questions that weren't answered this morning? Lisa.
On my question about the reimbursement, on page 2 of, I think it was trustees 2, the purchases to be reimbursed, and then it just says Chief Caponera. Is that supposed to be purchases to be reimbursed by Chief Caponera?
Yes, exactly. They were reimbursed by Chief Cabanera, correct?
Oh, okay, and, I believe this has happened one other time, and you said it's because wrong credit card, is that?
Correct. As reported to the village board, these are inadvertent charges due to the fact that Chief Capanera's personal card looks exactly the same as the village's purchasing card. Both are blue cards issued by BMO Harris Bank. Chief notified the finance department immediately upon realizing charges had not shown up on his personal bank statement. And therefore, we followed up with the village's card statement and calculated, and he has reimbursed the village accordingly. The charges were for several restaurants and sports clips.
And does the card say Village of Grafton?
It does not, as a BMO Harris. On the back towards the signature line there, it says Village of Grafton, but on the front it is just a blue BMO Harris MasterCard.
So it says it on back.
Any other questions? All right, we have a motion and a second by Andy and Dave. All in favor, say aye. Aye. That motion carries. Look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Have a good night. Very much.